Hello, Internet! Welcome to episode 327 of the Assorted Palorers podcast, the Second Minute Podcast. There's a little bit for everyone. I'm Weird Beard, and tonight we are having yet another ACP roundtable. I hope you don't mind, but we have all been very much enjoying our holiday vacation, and there are no segments to be had, but there's news. And so, introducing on the dais, of course, we have the greatest hostess of all time, Erin Paulette. How you doing, Erin?
I'm pretty sure you said Assorted Palorers.
Yes, he did.
Well, now I don't have to edit it.
You're welcome.
Because if I fix it, it won't make sense.
Weaponize that laziness.
I was getting a little bit of feedback from somebody's mic, and I don't know which one, but it usually doesn't bother me. But that time it got me a little squirrely. I can take the feedback out, but not me getting tongue tied. How you doing, Erin? It's almost New Year's. It'll be New Year's by the time this comes out.
I am doing well, but Xander is on a timeline, and I want you to open your birthday present. So let's get everyone introduced.
Yes.
And you can do the unwrapping, and then he can go to bed.
Okay, so we also have David.
What?
Yes.
Hello? Is this thing on?
That thing's on. Happy Hanukkah, David.
Thank you. We still have another night or two.
And we have very tired and feeling a bit under the weather, but he is recovering, Xander Opal.
Fudge, Michigan.
Well, yes. When he's feeling better, I think he's going to have a ranty segment. All right, I'm gonna get up real quick and run over to a pile of boxes that I have in the corner of my office. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. So for people who don't know, Weirdbeard's birthday is legitimately New Year's Day. The first time I saw it, I thought it was Facebook messing with me, but no, it's true. He really does celebrate his birthday January 1st. And financially, it's a pain in my butt. So I've already spent money on Christmas presents.
Yep. Oh. Yep.
It sounded like It sounded like I heard Weird come back.
Yeah, no, that was me clumping boxes.
Okay.
All right, I have one that is from the state of fluoridated water. I was doing a little Bobby Kennedy joke musing when I was picking up this package off my porch. All right, let's see. Get the little thingy open, and of course I'm using the Boker mermaid knife.
Nice.
It's a really nice knife, actually.
It is.
All right.
It's like
you got one too.
Down the stone and into the meat of the hand.
Was that Ernest?
Ernest goes to camp.
Yep.
And too bad Oddball's not here.
All right, you sent me packets of sauce. It just says on one side of it.
You don't know what they are.
Is it taco sauce?
Yes, but more importantly, it's from a kit that has the Taco Bell logo on it.
Oh!
Those are... See, you're given the wrong reaction. Yeah, when we have tacos, we use the kit, but we don't use the sauce. We instead use salsa. And I thought I remembered you turning up your nose at Taco Bell as how it wasn't proper Mexican and it was garbage. And so I was sitting here hoping that this would be my culinary equivalent of when Xander sends you Lipton tea bags.
I'm so glad I wasn't drinking something.
I mean, it definitely had a very Lipton tea bag presentation because it is just a 1 quart freezer bag, just stuffed filled with these just slightly labeled. But Erin, I will say the upper hand is mine. If you Google, I can even put a link to it in the show notes. I actually just sent it to Sarah Machad yesterday. There is on the side of the Ortega taco kit. One time there was a thing Ortega taco bake, And I just looked at it and went, you know what? That actually seems not too bad. And I dress it up with a lot more veggies than is on there. But it is literally designed that you could take a taco kit for the with the hard shell tacos and take your ground beef. I think they ask you to dice up an onion for that one specifically and have garnish, but essentially use the packet of taco seasoning and the packet of taco sauce, as well as some other things, to essentially kind of make it into like a Mexican lasagna, where you put the crushed up shells and then you put the seasoned meat, then cheese, then more crushed up shells, then more seasoned meat, and all that. And I actually have more of the taco seasoning packets than I do the sauce. So actually, I'm like, oh, this will be super useful.
Well, I'm sorry I disappointed you, Xander. I thought you were gonna have a good laugh.
Well, we're started telling a story, so it's the perfect segue for me to fall asleep.
Yeah, but there's one more box to open, which should be mine.
Oh, I mean, there's lots of boxes to open, and like I think some of them are from you guys, but I'm not really sure now. Let's see which one is. Yes. Let's see if this one will have Erin's redemption.
Not Erin's, yours.
Yes, my redemption.
I thought he was beyond redemption.
Well, that too. But Erin did nothing wrong. She
Erin
presented the joke. You reacted poorly.
Oh, Jesus! All right. Well, David, first up for your packing, we have your shredded documents as the packing material. I'm going to need to vacuum my office. Oh, there's a one rubber duck. And
I had to hold that box closed to get the tape on.
I mean, it is like so far I am pulling rubber ducks out of this, and so they are not fragile, so they would have not needed any. But like you could have packed a Fabergé Easter egg in this, and it would have been fine, no matter how drunk the package carrier was. Oh, look at them! Oh, I like the pirate one. Yes, I have a series of rubber ducks. I have a plain one. I have it's a nurse, yes, because she's got the stethoscope and the luscious eyelashes. Baseball generic. He's wearing a baseball helmet and it literally has a baseball with the letter B on it. B for baseball.
Important question, Weird.
Yes.
Do you have your ducks in a row?
They're right. Yes, kind of. Well, multiple rows now because it's joining. Also, my desk is absolutely covered with things. Oddly enough, you tell the world that you like ducks, and people start sending you ducks.
Yep.
As I said, people are going to start thinking I'm a Jeep enthusiast.
You should start putting them in the window of your Pilot. Really confuse folks.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious. And take a couple extra laps around the parking lot whenever I go to see if I can find like a Wagoneer or something to park next to it.
Yep. All right. So how many of the ducks have you found?
I think I've got all of them because I'm feeling around in the bag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there must be one more.
11?
Is there one more? Was there a dozen?
There were 10.
Oh,
it had a baby on the way.
There is 11. There is 100% 11 of them.
Because this is the picture I took before I packed. How many are in that picture?
11.
Okay. Erin, how many ducks are in the picture I just shared?
10.
Xander, how many ducks are there in the picture I just shared?
10.
Is this
Oddball.
A Star Trek thing?
Oddball, how many ducks are in the picture I just shared? 17! Unfortunately, Oddball is exhausted and couldn't join us tonight.
Yes. I told him he could take a nap.
Yeah. He definitely earned it. So, you've counted the ducks that you pulled out of the box twice, and you have 11. You're certain of this number.
How? Now I'm counting them again. Yeah, there's 11.
So which costume does the 11th duck have?
That one is dressed up as Captain Picard. and I assumed that there'd be a Cardassian one as well.
That one's still on beige or liquidating prisoners.
Well, thank you so much, David. And I don't think I got any on the floor of my office, but I guarantee I did.
The packing.
Yes.
And just think, if you're bored, all you need is time and Scotch tape.
That is true. I could find details that you've probably already told me.
Probably. Like my address, who my power company is. What charities my mother donated to before she died.
Oh, did you well, I assume you would have shredded a lot of the why did mom keep this stuff long before that.
Oh yeah, but when she first passed, we had her mail forwarded here, which includes all of the not-for-profits that want money from her or her estate.
Still got stuff.
Yes, so here it is 4 years and 3 months later, and we are still getting, please send us money for X cause.
Yep. My parents in their in the Christmas basket that they gave me, in it was a letter addressed to me to my parents' retirement community.
Where you've never lived.
Where I've never lived, but they got their mail forwarded from the house that I grew up at and was my legal address until I moved to Massachusetts.
I don't think that phrasing is quite accurate. The house where you spent much of your formative years, but you still haven't grown up.
That is true. The house where
I was raised, but I still haven't grown up either. Obviously, because I made that joke.
The house where I gained the bulk of my mass.
I thought that was in Maine. I thought that was in Maine, not Massachusetts.
Anyway,
Xander, go lay down.
Yeah, I'm sorry it fell flat, Xander. Good night.
That's okay. Weird tends to deflate things. So good night.
Good night,
good podcast.
I'm still deeply amused that your attempt to discuss me. Though actually I'm not super anti Taco Bell. It's one of those places that I have eaten at I believe I have eaten at a Taco Bell exactly once. There might have been a second time in there somewhere, and it's just one of those like, if I want Mexican food, I'll go to an actual Mexican food place, and if only Taco Bell is available, I don't necessarily know if I want Mexican that bad.
You also could have just gone and gotten a nice Taco Bell feast before you started your colonoscopy prep. Would have made it a lot easier.
I mean that would be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, though I think I did one of my last solid meals did have ghost pepper sauce on it. See, I know I've got Tiny told me that this object here needed to be opened for my birthday, and he's out with friends tonight, so he was not able to join us. Well, now I'm actually switching. I'm going even less classy. I'm opening this with a parrot knife.
Ooh.
Oh, boy. So I'm dialing 9-1.
Oh, man. Tiny, excellent wrapping.
Oh, while you're unwrapping that one, my original plan for wrapping... Oh, thank you, beloved. My original plan for wrapping your present, Weird, was to wrap each individual duck in its own separate cardboard box wrapped with multiple layers of fiber-reinforced packing tape.
That would have been brilliant.
That's right up there with welding a box around the angle grinder.
Yeah, I love that meme.
That got me laughing.
The reason I said thank you, beloved, was my wife just popped into the room to give me a glass half filled with eggnog, the other half with whipped cream, and with a hazelnut pirouette stuck in it.
Ooh.
Also known as this time of year, David's usual.
Yes. But I also know that means that she's at the other end of the house being a Christmas pirate.
Pirate?
Because she adds something to her eggnog. Demon rum.
Ooh, okay.
Actually, I think she finished off that rum and she was tapping into her bourbon, and not the military special bourbon that Oddball gave us.
Oh,
I don't.
Hey, what is this? This is
not my field. I don't know what brands she gets. I know that One of them was Rebel. I think that was whiskey, though. I can always text her.
Minnesota maple flavored whiskey. Oh, tiny.
Ooh. Although technically it should be from Vermont or New York.
I mean, I have Vermont. I have Smuggler's Notch maple bourbon upstairs. Yes, everybody from a northeast state. I'd say probably it's actually, you could argue New England, but New York also has a very, very thriving and wonderful maple industry. Every single one of them says, "Oh no, our maple syrup is the best."
Yeah.
Though
apples and maple syrup are two of the good things that come out of New York.
Though I will say that my wife is from Vermont, and we vacation on Lake Champlain every year, and that's usually when we stock up on our maple syrup. So, as much as I like to say that Maine has the superior maple syrup, boy, it's probably due to the fact that now that I have enough money to actually start like really, really sampling the more higher dollar maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
It is very much Vermont appears to be winning the race.
Yeah. Many years ago, we did a week and a half or so driving vacation through Vermont and New Hampshire. Stayed in a different hotel every night, saw some of the sights, drove up and down Mount Washington. And one of the places we stopped, and I forget the name of the place, but it was a maple syrup manufactory, a small one.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do the tour, and they would walk you through the different rooms. And of course, as with any good tour, it ended in the gift shop.
Of course.
And against one wall of the gift shop was a stainless steel table with 4, I think, pump handles on top and dispensers of little paper cups.
Oh, little condiment cups.
Yes. And the pumps were for the 4 different grades of maple syrup they produced. And so I went and I did 4 shots of maple syrup. And apparently I started talking really fast, and we did stuff in the gift shop and went back to the car, and we're driving away, and I'm still talking really fast, and then I suddenly go quiet, and my wife looks over and I'm asleep.
Sugar crash?
Uh-huh. But I did they had a box of maple candy bloopers.
Oh.
And these were the pure maple syrup,
the little crystallized sugar ones.
Yeah, but it was the darker ones, which were the pure maple syrup. Yep. The lighter colored ones are maple syrup and Karo syrup.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a different flavor profile. They're a little sweeter and not as maple. But these were the real ones, the kind where you put it in your mouth, put it on your tongue, and hold it there for a second, and it just dissolves.
And it is so mapley it almost burns. Uh-huh. It's almost spicy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this was like a shoebox full of them for like $8.
Well, I don't know if I want to open everything else up, but I have one box that has been sitting here for a while, and everyone seems to say it was not them, and I'm not really sure. For all I know, it could be. No, it's not my wife, because she would have addressed it to her. So I'm not. But this one is labeled Pyrex, and so I am either excited or horrified. Do any of you know about this?
Nope.
No.
All right, let's find a good way to open it without. Oh, that'll work without gutting myself.
Yeah, once was enough for that.
They could say he died doing what he loved,
stabbing himself in the abdomen.
Yes. Okay. Now, how to open this?
Just if you do accidentally stab yourself in the abdomen, don't go sewing machine on yourself.
No.
And 2, when you pull the knife out, pull it straight out. Don't do a draw cut.
Oh, it's just more of our standard Pyrex containers. I wonder did I order this?
I mean, you're the kitchen bitch.
It's true.
Was it the Ambien Walrus?
What's that?
Was it the Ambien Walrus?
I don't take Ambien, so probably not. But I generally haven't gone more than two drinks in a night anytime in the recent history. But yeah, no, it's just the little square Pyrex containers. I'll have to figure out where the heck these came from even if I have room in the kitchen for these. This is definitely an ambient walrus sort of gift. I like.
Do you and your wife share an Amazon account? Yeah, because it might simply be that she ordered them, but she forgot to switch to her name for delivery.
That could be.
My wife and I have done that on more than one occasion. It's always fun though. You get a surprise present, and it's not for you.
Well, it's kitchen.
This is for you.
It's kitchen related, and it's dishes. So
yeah.
Even if it's for her, it might as well just go to me.
Yeah, I mean, one time I opened up a box, and it was a bottle of perfume and a pair of leggings. Neither were for me.
Are you sure? Did you try them on to see if they fit?
I held them up and realized that no. Even if the inseams were actually connected to make a tube, I'm not sure if it would have fit on one leg.
Either way, I like my story better.
Yep. Oh, and I did message my wife, and she adulterated her nog tonight with salted caramel moonshine.
Oh, I've had that one. That's a good one.
Yes.
What was the brand again? I know I talked about it in Handgun Radio.
Was it Old Smoky or the other one?
No, Old Smoky was the one that I have had, which is good, but the other one that she had was exceptional.
So this is feeling more like a mag dump than a round table.
Yes, I was going to say I just
or a Handgun Radio.
I wanted to open Handgun Radio. We are well known for spending quite a bit of time before handguns even remotely come across the table. But yeah, so I will dispense with the gifts. I will say thank you to everyone who thought of me. I appreciate that, and let's dive into some of the news stories.
Oh, we're not going to do the drink segment.
That's Handgun Radio.
That was yesterday.
I'm drinking a Mio energy drink because I'm trying to keep
my glass of eggnog
because I'm trying to keep my eyeballs open. All right, this one is it's slightly this was the one article we had on the in the show notes when we sat down to attempt to do a show, and we're all like, there's one topic. There's one topic, and Oddball was frantically scrambling to try to find a court case roundup to kind of fatten it out, and we just all sat around and talked for I think like an hour and a half or so, and that is now an ACP blooper reel. So with a few others. So yeah, so if you want to hear that episode, go to patreon.com/Assorted Calibers podcast. But this one's from friend of the show, Costas Moros, and he said, "Shouldn't gun control proponents have to demonstrate their preferred laws actually reduce homicides?" And this is something that I loved seeing because it was something we used to do back in the blogging days. We joke about how the gun blog variety cast and how all the gun bloggers really didn't blog that much anymore because we'd switched over to doing podcasts, and that's where we're spending our creative energy. But one of the things that several of the gun bloggers from back that time used to do is every time it was the Brady campaign at this point, when they would put out their state report cards, they would graph the state report cards along with the state's violent crime numbers. And almost always there was a negative correlation to gun control and there's positive correlation to gun control and violent crime. The more gun control overall, the more violent crime, especially if you threw DC in as a quote unquote state, because
it is a state of insanity.
Yes. And it is because it is pretty much just a city, and it has a city with a very serious violent crime problem and ridiculous amounts of gun control laws. So it almost always ranks at some of the highest letter grades for them. And so, yeah, it really does set it off. But actually, I believe after several years of gun bloggers using the Brady campaign's scoring numbers, they actually stopped doing it because I know for the last several years,
made them look bad.
Yeah, of when the Brady campaign had debatably independent ownership. Again, I believe strongly that it is under the Everytown umbrella. They were not doing They were not doing the scorecards at all. And now it is the Giffords group, which also is allegedly an independent group, though they are often working with
fully
every
funded
town.
by Michael Bloomberg Incorporated.
Yeah, I believe so. But yeah, so now they put out the cards, and I mean, I don't think there's anything super duper major to discuss about this, except for he does some very, very good statistical analysis to show that that indeed, by passing gun control laws, you are actually jeopardizing the safety of your citizens.
He basically did a weird audio fist without the audio.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's better.
So yeah, that is in the all. I mean, all these stories are in the show notes, but that is definitely something worth a look, especially if you're a stats nerd. And let's see. So this next one, and somebody put a follow up story, as well.
Yeah, that was me both times.
Okay. Yeah. So the
Did
Seattle
you actually mention the title of Kostas's article?
I thought that was the title. Shouldn't gun control proponents have to demonstrate their preferred laws actually reduce homicide?
Okay, yeah. Sorry,
All good. Yes. Do you want to cover this one, Aaron?
Sure. All right. So this one is really relevant because even though it references a 2022 interview, this person is back in the news because of the recent school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin, which I don't think we've covered, actually. Anyway, so you have a man called Sean Barnes, and I don't really remember what he was in Wisconsin, but he's oh God, I'm stepping all over this. So he was the front runner for the Seattle police chief, and he has in fact become the Seattle police chief. And he went on record as saying that he doesn't think the Second Amendment is appropriate. And here's a quote, what was written in 1789 may not be appropriate for 2022 unless we're okay with kids being killed. And, we've heard all this before, and really, it was just a case. The reason why I thought this was relevant was because it was yet another case of law enforcement engaging in magical thinking. And all we have to do is pass the right law, and crime will go away. And it didn't work in Wisconsin, and it's not going to work in Seattle. And
right up there with real communism has never been tried.
Yeah.
Yep, and it hasn't worked in California, and you talk about a state that has got every single like rubber stamp gun control law that is ever won. It's California.
Yeah. Or it hasn't worked in New York, hasn't worked in Chicago.
Okay, here it was. He was chief of police in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And so
at the time he said that?
At the time he said that, and I'm not sure if he was police chief then. The comment came to light as Barnes gained national attention in the aftermath of a deadly school shooting, where he currently serves as chief. So, hey, here's some hypocrisy. The mass shooting happened on his watch.
Yeah, but it's the fault of the Second Amendment,
Yeah.
not the officers who are trusted to protect the citizens.
But, he's going to be now moving to the West Coast, and Seattle hasn't met a gun control law it didn't like, so they're going to get the kind of policing they deserve.
Unfortunately with that is there are always the people who are fighting the good fight who will get the kind of policing that the other people deserve.
Yeah, and may I just take a brief moment to lament the West Coast, because when I started the Second Amendment advocacy, you had places like Vermont and Oregon and Washington where they had very, very left-wing politics. And of course, people of Washington for sure will argue, no, it's really Puget Sound is just so deep blue and so heavily populated. The eastern part of the state really just doesn't have any electoral say whatsoever. But either way, there used to be
a former rural New Yorker.
Mm-hmm. there used to be blue states that were very, very pro-gun. I will say for sure Vermont was as deep, it has been as deep blue can be, and even Bernie Sanders used to, I emphasize, used to be very, very pro Second Amendment and was very openly pro Second Amendment, and all of that has changed, and it really upsets me because, again, there should be nothing partisan about the Second Amendment. And if you vote Democrat, if you want universal health care, if you support abortion rights, et cetera, name every other left-wing thing, there is no reason why you also shouldn't support the Second Amendment.
I could express theory, but that's not what we're here for today.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this guy was police chief in a municipality where a school shooting occurred, and he's now going to be a police chief in another municipality, which will likely see a school shooting in the near future, sadly, and thinks that the Second Amendment isn't appropriate.
That we can't guarantee. School shootings are so rare that
they are rare, but where do they tend to happen? For the majority of them? Not all, but the majority. Yeah, the majority of them do happen in anti-gun blue states, especially California seems to have the most of any. But that being said, jokes about Texas, everything being bigger in Texas, California is the largest state. Though I do know that actually back to the blogging days, I actually did a blog where I was looking at the relative violent crime statistics between Boston and Seattle because they're both very, very compact cities. They're not sprawling cities, and they had very, very similar populations. And I found amazingly that the crime rates between Boston and Seattle were about the same, but all of the crime was crime that did not involve the criminal actually contacting the person they're ripping off. So identity theft, white collar crime,
cold burglary, stealing of grand theft auto, that sort of stuff. And meanwhile, Boston was excelling in robbings, muggings, stabbings, shootings, murder, that sort of stuff. And how much of that was the areas around the combat zone? There's quite a bit of stuff in the former combat zone. Nobody calls it the zone anymore, which is too bad.
Hey, David, I'm still mulling over what you said. How are you getting California is bigger than Texas?
Population-wise.
Okay. All right. That makes sense, but I didn't hear population. And it's like, no. Okay. Alaska, yes, but...
Yeah, no, I was talking California is the most populated state.
Okay, yeah, I buy that. Carry on.
If Texans also heard it that way, they got very, very angry because they need to know that they are the biggest state, and also they're not really sure if Alaska really exists.
Yep. Well, if I've upset our Texas listeners, I apologize, and to help soothe that injury, I will just say beans belong in chili.
You are not wrong at all. Oh, Texans and their
I'm going to get lynched. And the next one.
The next one. Do you want to take it, David?
I come from there.
I think Erin, you were the one that found this.
No, actually, I wasn't. I was just the one that came up with a banger response to it.
Yeah, I think I was the one who found this.
Well, take it away, David.
So, people often will berate Europe for their draconian gun control laws. What most people don't realize is that Eastern Europe, specifically the former Soviet satellite countries, most of them actually rebel against that, and Poland is no exception. And Poland has recently expanded an existing program to teach compulsory gun and shooting classes in all elementary schools.
Perfect.
Now, prior to this, they did have those classes at the high school level, but they've now extended it to the lower grades.
So I'm going to quibble just a little bit. You aren't wrong, but their primary school goes up to like 8th grade. And I believe that they said that they were doing this for the 13 and 14-year-olds. So for Americans, they would be teaching middle schoolers. But still, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I was trying to use equivalents that would make sense.
Right, go on.
Yeah, so they did do it in the elementary / middle school, they did it in the high school levels. So, 15, 16, 17, 18, or what here would be 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. But now they're extending it to the younger groups as well. And one of the primary driving factors is one of their somewhat aggressive neighbors who they have a bit of history with. And observing what happened in Ukraine when the government was basically handing out rifles to any citizens who came up to the warehouse who may have never touched a gun before in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And we commented on that heavily.
Here's an automatic weapon. Go and defend the nation. But I don't know how to shoot. Not our problem.
Yep. And actually, at that time, Erin, you had some particularly pointed things to say about how, would have been nice if you'd taught them before they needed to use them.
Mm-hmm.
You were in high dudgeon. I think.
Yeah.
As I've said, my preferred answer when you get the very, very common from an anti-gun person will say, "Oh, why do you need all those guns?" And
Ukraine.
There's all sorts of great. Oh, it's not a bill of needs and that sort of stuff. But really, the one that I think works the best is I say I don't need any of these guns, not a single one of them. But in the event that I do need those guns, I am not going to likely have the time or opportunity to go get and learn how to use one. Is the time the time to become to? I mean, it's very much the I believe it wasn't Caesar, but if you desire peace, prepare for war. In peacetime,
passum parabellum.
Yes, and so it's at peacetime is the time for when you should training in the martial arts, so that when it is war, you're not scrambling in the direst of circumstance. So this is true. And then on top of that, I think the number one way for America to get to reduce gun accidents and accidental shootings and kids shooting other kids, especially accidental, is to have your Eddie Eagle or equivalent in elementary school, basic firearms type and safe gun handling, specifically like how to clear a weapon
how to make it safe.
Yeah. In middle school and the types of actions.
Abstinence only education does not work. It has in fact been proven to not work. We teach sex ed in our schools for a reason, and that has reduced teen pregnancy. So if abstinence-only sex education doesn't work, why do we insist on abstinence-only firearm education? We shouldn't.
And another string to Erin's point is the same thing was found true when they started teaching swimming in coastal and lakes areas. For some reason, when they taught the kids to swim young, fewer of them drowned.
Wow.
No one can figure out the correlation. But Weird, a shorter version of your statement, because of course, you never use two words when seven will do.
Guilty.
Is I like to paraphrase Lily Tang Williams. Can you guarantee that the United States government will never turn tyrannical? And of course, no one can, especially depending on their political bent, either the current administration or the next administration, they'll view as tyrannical.
I need to reach back out to her. She needs to be on the show.
Absolutely.
I tried to get her on the show when she was when she was running for I believe she was running as a state rep in New Hampshire, but there's so many interesting things in her life that I want to talk to her about.
Yeah, she was running for the U.S. House of Representatives in New Hampshire's 2nd Congressional District. She lost the primary in 22, won the primary in 24, but lost to the Democrat candidate in 24.
And it was U.S. House.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was state representative, but good on her.
Yeah. And she will be back, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. So, just to finish up, because I teased a banger response. When this was announced, I said, and this will make sense to fans of Habitual Line Crosser, and if you aren't, you probably won't. But I said,
you should be.
So I said, wow, Little European Texas is actually out Texasing Texas.
Yep. Yeah. I one of the other things that I think all of us have said some version of over the years, when a gun prohibitionist says that gun owners should be required to get training, I think all of us have agreed and said, and it should start in school.
Yeah, but the moment you start getting trained, then it's murder training, and then you're trying to form a militia, and it's a catch-22.
Oh, the goalposts are on jet skates.
Oh, yeah.
But it requires them to change tactics and prove to anyone listening that they are not arguing in good faith.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to have an intellectual battle royale of who is more the Texas of Europe. Is it Poland or is it the Czech Republic?
I'm pretty sure it's Poland, but
at this, well, which of them is it that has the 4th of July Americana celebration? Is that Poland?
Oh, I do think that's Czech, but I'm not sure.
Okay, because if that's the Czech Republic, where they have the folks with pickup trucks and flannel shirts drinking beer and shooting fireworks, that may win. That just may win. I remember seeing pictures of that, and honestly, when I first saw it, I thought it was AI artwork, because, that can't be real. Oh, that is real. But good on Poland, and hopefully other countries, including ours, will take note. I know that Tennessee actually passed in... I wish my brother Oddball was here. I believe that they passed in the most recent legislative session a requirement for basic firearm safety to be taught in state schools at the grade school level. But I believe they phrase it in such a way that would prevent the NRA from being involved. Which, I mean, okay, considering some of the stuff going on with the NRA, I kind of understand, but it is still the preeminent firearms educational organization in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, good on Poland.
Good on Poland. And heading back to the United States, we've got some more good federal court. This is the third circuit, and this is a case. This is Range V Garland, and Mr. Range was a man who was convicted of a felony. I believe, it was a felony for filling out a food stamp application intentionally incorrectly to. He lied about his level of income so that he could get some better benefits.
Back in the 90s. So this is a 30-year-old conviction.
Yes. And then I believe he was caught with a firearm.
No, he attempted to purchase a firearm. Okay. So he lied on the form. He was caught. He was convicted. He served a fairly limited sentence from what I remember. And then he went to purchase a firearm and he was denied. And then he waited like another couple of years, figuring something was just needed to fall off his record. And he went and tried to purchase a firearm again and was again denied. And that was when he found out that it was because of that 30-year-old conviction. That was another article that I read. That was how they described it.
I'm really curious why he didn't petition to get his rights restored, because that can be done.
Yeah, I mean, he may not have known that affected his Second Amendment rights. A lot of people don't.
Well, yes, but what I'm saying is that, and I'm glad this worked out this way, but that's the way a lot of felons who have served their time do. They petition to get their rights back, and then they're able to purchase firearms and vote and things like that. And so it's unusual he took this route.
I believe that's handled at the state level, or is that the federal level?
Federal.
Oh, it is federal. Okay.
That I don't know. It can be done at the federal level.
Right. Because he's in Pennsylvania, And I'm wondering, because I know that if you live in New York and you have a felony conviction for anything, you're not successfully going to petition to get your rights restored.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, it is definitely
level.
at the mercy of the court. Like there is no hard and fast rule for how to get your rights restored. Just that it needs to be a certain length of time, and you have had a clear record and all of that. And
It's May issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but this I really like. I mean, it's getting into a area that I think is even gray for Second Amendment supporters on felons and owning firearms, but I think it's not that big a deal. This is clearly a nonviolent offense, and I have been very, very open that I actually don't have a problem with the prohibition of felons owning firearms, but I do have a major problem with felons who are not violent in any way being treated like they are somehow untrustworthy around a firearm because they lied on application. They cheated.
They were involved in a pyramid scheme.
Correct.
Yeah, some kind of non-violent so-called white-collar crime.
Yep. My favorite one being from Maine is scrubbing lobsters. If you catch a female lobster that has eggs, you're supposed to notch her tail and throw her back to preserve the population. But one thing that unscrupulous lobstermen will do is just take a deck brush and just scrub off all those eggs and then throw her in the catch bin. And that is in fact a felony.
Good.
Yep, that is in fact a felony if you get caught doing that, or attempt to land a lobster with eggs, which actually they will eventually drop their eggs, but they don't do it all at once. And so there's definitely been times when lobstermen have noted, oh, almost lost it on that one, where there were just 2 or 3 eggs hanging out on the bottom of the female's tail, and notched her and threw her back, because that is some bad legal juju if you end up getting caught with that.
Even a single egg, and we're talking about something the size of a BB.
Yep, correct. And they know, because they're the swimmerettes that they cling to. Not that we want to get into a huge biology lesson, but there are some biological.
I have a feeling it's too late for us.
Yeah, there's some biological changes that happen to the female to help her retain the eggs, and so you could tell if a female has just recently dropped her eggs, and those ones they go over with a fine tooth comb.
Okay, moving. Was there anything else anyone wanted to say about Range? Because I think this is. If you guys don't, I had just a couple thoughts.
Yeah, please.
But I think this is going to be really interesting, because it mentions towards the bottom of the Reload episode article a growing circuit split developing around convicted felons and Second Amendment rights. And because this opinion came from an en banc panel, it'll stand unless the Supreme Court overturns it. But in order for that to happen, the Supreme Court would have to hear it. But because different federal courts have ruled differently on it, that increases the chance of it going to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And with the current makeup, that could work out well for us.
Yeah, and it also depends on if it's just like this case.
One of the narrowest cases I remember.
Yeah, well, when Rahimi was going up through the ranks, I intentionally was not talking about it, because I was good. We reported on it when it finally got ruled on, but while it was going through the various appeals and all that, I did not want to talk about it, because I really predicted from the very get-go that it was a loser, because Rahimi was such a terrible client. The fact that he was a violent.
You mean like Miller?
Like Miller. I mean, really, almost exactly like Miller. In the fact that he was charged with he had a domestic violence restraining order, or domestic violence prohibition, and essentially it was a restraining order, and so he attempted to, or he was caught with a gun, and the statement is, oh, that's shouldn't count because he was not convicted of anything, and then but later on, he was convicted of both domestic battery and drug dealing and some other things. And so he is a lifelong prohibited person and is probably going to spend the rest of his life in prison. He's in prison right now. And so it was just a terrible case. And so I was not surprised that it didn't go the right way. The court, it shouldn't matter, but it does matter. And this case, this case with Range, I think is the other kind of should matter, is the fact that it is nonviolent and the fact that it is an older case and he has, as far as I know, kept his nose fairly clean between then and that was just.
Yeah, I don't recall reading anything about him doing other stuff since he completed his sentence. So
this was just a brief and very minor transgression in an otherwise upstanding life. I think this is,
and it was lying to get more food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that unless you're pretty desperate.
Correct. And so, I think the this is a good case, and again, it being nonviolent. Now, if there's another case where someone was committing assault or battery or some other, felony case and saying that they should have the Second Amendment right, that's going to be a tough road to hoe for us.
Yeah.
And I don't even know which way I'm rooting.
I mean, so my basic opinion on this type of thing is if they are not safe enough to have all of their rights back, they should still be in prison.
Mm-hmm.
If they are safe enough to be released onto the streets, then they should get their rights back because they're an American citizen.
And
I know there's questionable aspects with certain violent crimes, but those people shouldn't get out of prison.
And as a devil's advocate, I would say for many of the violent crimes, especially the ones that don't contain lengthy, prison sentences, simple assault and stuff, I would argue, I think justifiably, I think your statement is absolutely correct, but I don't think we have the infrastructure for it. I don't think we have enough prisons.
I don't think we have the discrimination for it.
Yeah, and I don't think we have enough prisons to keep them locked up until we can be sure that the nature of being violently impulsive is gone from them.
Mm-hmm. There are some chemical therapies that are being explored, but I have some issues with that as well.
Yeah,
and then before some of our listeners say, well, if they're not safe, just kill them. Like, yeah, I understand. And when I was younger, I was in favor of the death penalty. But as I've gotten older, I still understand the support for the death penalty. I just don't trust the government to do it right.
Yeah.
Especially after what we heard coming out of California with their former attorney general blocking evidence to get people released.
Yeah.
And there was also a couple of cases of crime labs falsifying data and test results over the past year or so.
Yep. So you're. There was a case of that in Massachusetts where literally the person just lied about her degree. She didn't even know how to use the machinery.
Which means every single case that she touched is now suspect.
Oh, everybody has had their cases tossed. So people that were in prison were released because they were convicted because the lab had said that the drug that they had caught with was cocaine or whatever, and there's no way for them to know if that was true or not, and so those people were released. Some of them are back because a lot of them were indeed bad people. And if the cop finds you with a white powder and they suspect that it's cocaine, they've got a pretty good idea that it's cocaine or heroin or whatever.
Yeah.
But either way, and I don't think that there's the infrastructure for it. So I find that I'm agreeable, or more agreeable, I guess I could say, to the idea of somebody who has shown themselves to be impulsively violent, having their rights to keep and bear arms curtailed. But again, I'm also a huge proponent of having them sealed, and there should be a clearer pathway to petitioning the courts to say, all right, yes, when I was in my 20s, I was a heavy drinker. I was into drugs. And
I did these bad things.
Yeah, when things would happen, I would be violent. I have since cleaned myself up. I'm a member of society. I've got I've married. I've got a family. That's not me anymore. And my criminal record clearly shows that it's not me anymore. Please, I would like my rights restored. And
or I mean, it could also be something that is tied to probation.
Mm-hmm.
You get out of prison after whatever the sentence is, and your probation is a certain period of time. When your probation is ended, you have proven yourself to not be that person.
Yep.
And it goes from there. I mean, that might require extending probation for certain crimes, but that system is already in place. It would just be definitions.
Yeah, I've got no problem with that as well. Again, I don't have a problem with people who are known to be violent not having guns, because you know what? That's one of the anti-gun propaganda points that is correct, is if someone's being violent and now they're being violent with a gun, it certainly doesn't make things better. But that being said, I don't think people are beyond redemption, and I don't we were all young. We were all young at one point, and we did some really dumb stuff then. And so people getting caught doing dumb stuff in their youth, there should be a way for them to get away from that and clear their name.
I don't know, David, were you ever young?
Oh, at heart. I'm still young at heart.
All right. Well, now getting in, and I'm seeing you type. Did you find it, David?
I found a post on Twix with the document attached.
Awesome. Well, so I will tease that. We'll read it after we get worked up. But this is a story that was that I first saw from William Kirk with Washington gun law. Yep. But essentially a story of Mark Choppa Manley. He was a, let's see.
He is a Second Amendment advocate in Maryland, and he also worked closely with children, among other things, girls' flag football team. And all of his guns.
He was also an intervention specialist for his local school district.
And all of his guns were in compliance with both federal law and Maryland law, which is really difficult. And so between that and between him working with children, his background has been checked 9 ways to Sunday. This is clearly not a man who has done anything wrong. Well, I mean, at least, in terms of having a criminal record. And, like the early morning hours of, I want to say November 21st, similar to what the ATF did with, Malazewski? I'm butchering his name.
Yep, Brian Malinowski.
Brian Malinowski.
You got way closer to the correct name than I did, Aaron.
And so, really, the only thing that was different here was that Mr. Manley gets up super early in the morning because he works with kids. So he was up at like 4:30 in the morning, and he noticed, I think, like on his Ring camera or whatever, that there were people out in the yard making tactical movements. And
his wife actually noted and called out to him.
Right. And so his first thought was to grab a gun, which is understandable, but he soon realized that they were some form of police, and good for him, because otherwise he would have been shot dead, just like that man in Arkansas. And so the entire thing is just, the only way it could be worse would be if someone was killed. Unfortunately, no one was killed, but this one, they did not trample his rights. They defecated upon his rights, much in the same way that the police dogs defecated on their house. So, okay, he's there, and he's got at least 2 children. And
3 children at home at that time.
Okay, well, I only saw 2 in the picture.
There was 2 daughters and his son.
Yeah. And so, he announces to the police, I'm not sure how, maybe he called out from a window, that basically it's like, hey, I know you're here, I'm cooperating. They still knocked the door down and threw flashbangs. They hauled the family out. They had guns on the children, on minors. They handcuffed them. They were wearing their pajamas in Maryland in November when it's cold.
It was 20 degrees out when this happened.
Right. The son was sleeping alone in the basement. They did another flashbang. They had like a dozen or so ATF agents come in and terrorize a minor child. They trashed the house.
Yeah.
The police dogs literally crapped all over the house, which is unconscionable. I mean, okay.
One of the dogs crapped on his daughter's bed.
Right. I mean, I understand dogs have to poo, but first of all, dogs that are that trained, you know, they know not to poo in the house. They know how to ask. And also the police should know not to do that. And so this almost sounds like the police encouraged them. I'm saying the ATF. I can't prove it, but that's at the very least really gross negligence. And so wrapping up here, they couldn't find anything. So the report was he was being reported as a felon in possession of firearms. They didn't find anything except for his gun safe, and they basically said, give us the combination or we'll, I think they said they'd blow it open. I don't think that would really be the case, but they'd drill it. They would find a way to break it. And so Mr. Manley, knowing he had done nothing wrong, and honestly, he had way more faith in the system than I would have, gave them the combination, and they're like, ooh, look at all these guns, and they start taking them out, running the serial numbers, and they were all legal. And the ATF realized that they had messed up because there was no crime here. They did confiscate his phone, for reasons. I don't know if he's ever gotten that back, but, they, as a result of their actions, their house was unlivable days before Thanksgiving. I mean, the front door was broken. I think they broke a back door. Again,
they broke the front door, the back door, a glass sliding door in the basement to access the son's room.
Yeah.
Several windows.
And all the dog poo and carpets are ruined because of flashbangs. And
floors were damaged.
And they haven't done anything. There was one agent called and basically said, okay, tell us what we broke and we'll replace it. But it hasn't been replaced.
Yeah.
And this is just completely unconscionable. And the only sort of good news about this is that it's probably going to be fresh in the memory when Trump takes office. And I don't have a whole lot of hope because I'm deeply cynical and Trump betrayed my trust once before. But I'm hoping that whoever he appoints as ATF director, and we'll get to that in a moment, it's probably not going to be Brandon Herrera, but
he would be the first Mexican-American director of the ATF.
But hopefully it's someone who shares his sentiment of let's burn this down, or at the very least, let's just start separating the wheat from the chaff here. This is, as you can tell, I'm really upset by this. And honestly, the only way it could have gone worse would be if somebody was shot. And it got so close to that. Because all Mr. Manley had to do was not look out the window, not realize that they were police. And he would have been shot dead. And considering that they had guns on children, I'm still upset at this. Who knows who else they would have killed.
17. The oldest daughter was 17. The son, 15, and the other daughter, I think, 13. But yes,
when you have guns on children and you are arresting children, ATF agents take a long look at your life, reconsider things. I am so fighting the urge to tell you to end it, but you need to resign.
Yeah. They handcuffed Mark and his oldest daughter, but not his wife or the other 2 children.
Okay, I'm not really sure why, but that's good.
Yeah, that's in the article. It's it's not good. It's just another example of what's going on here.
It would have been worse if they had handcuffed all of them. That's what I meant.
Right. Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, this is. I keep going back, especially with the death of Brian Malinowski, which I'm openly saying was murder. I do not believe anything the ATF has said about that. They acted so unprofessionally.
I
mean, the whole thing with covering the Ring camera, turning off their body cams, it just sounds like an assassination.
Didn't this raid also not have active working cams? I thought I remembered that somewhere.
I did not see that in the article that we have linked, but Mr. Manley had a home security system with cameras.
Oh, yeah, and they disabled that.
Well, he saw them in the home security system monitor.
Well, yes, but
I'm almost positive. The drive.
I'm almost positive I read somewhere that in addition to the dog crapping on the house and then breaking things, they disabled the cameras too.
Yeah, I don't know how his system was set up, considering how smart he was about everything else. It wouldn't surprise me if it was automatically uploaded to a cloud account. And I have a feeling this is going to see an uptick in those types of setups. Because if they can come into your house and just yank the drive, you have nothing. If it's automatically uploaded to a cloud server, well, that's a little harder for them to erase seamlessly.
But yeah, I always go back to when I was reading Matt Bracken's Enemies, Foreign and Domestic, which I recommend to everybody. It's a really good book. But the ATF is just this diabolical machine in that. I mean, they are a villain, and this team that is trusted to essentially invoke a civil war within the United States is like so evil that I'm like, okay, I get what he's saying. This is after, Waco and Ruby Ridge. He's making a political statement about them, but this is a little over the top. And then we see stories like this, especially the kick down multiple doors. Like I can at least get behind, maybe not necessarily agree with the rationale behind it, but I could totally understand police needing to kick a door down to gain access to a place that they have a warrant to search. And that's,
we already talked about how bad no-knock warrants are in general, especially for something like this. What is he going to do? Flush the guns down the toilet?
Mm-hmm. Aha! Found it.
Oh yeah,
found it. It's in the GoFundMe, and they say, Mr. Manley, his daughters and 15-year-old son were handcuffed while the house was being dismantled, breaking cameras that were there to record for safety. I knew I'd seen that somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
in the other article, it just mentioned he and his eldest daughter being handcuffed. The GoFundMe also mentions his Mr. Manley, his daughters and son were handcuffed.
So yeah, and the GoFundMe is in the show notes. If you've got anything to send their way, I would recommend it because they're going to need it. But this is unconscionable and awful. And as William Kirk says, he was originally saying, no, we shouldn't dismantle the ATF. We should keep it and just twist it to good. And he went, I kind of think we should abolish. I think we should abolish it now. And
I can see a middle ground, and that is keep the administrative and record keeping part of the ATF, but remove all of their law enforcement powers.
Yeah.
If they have a case, they bring it to local law enforcement to serve.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd also then return them to the Department of Treasury.
Yes.
Good.
Yep. No, that's where they belong.
I mean, and I'm sure that all of the enforcers that are employed by ATF, if that happened, would simply be picked up by other, FBI, DEA, or whoever.
I like that you said enforcer, and it sounded like knee breaker.
That is how I intended it.
Good.
You picking up what I'm putting down.
So speaking of the ATF, this is like breaking news at the time of this recording. So much that we are scrambling to actually get a confirmed news story. But I feel pretty confident that we haven't been fed a bill of goods on this. But
stop burying the lead.
Yeah, so obviously Trump has said that day one he's going to fire Steve Dettelbach or Steve Beeplesneets, whatever his name is, and all that.
If President Biden can't remember his name, why should we?
Correct. that is the reason why I like mispronouncing his name, because the president that appointed him to the position can't even get it right. But it's something that really does get my head to scratch, but I don't care why, what conditions he leaves, so long as he leaves. Mm-hmm. He has tendered his resignation, and it will be effective January 18th of 2025. I kind of don't understand this, because on a political, this is a very nonpartisan statement. Every president that takes office when there is a party shift frequently goes through all the various bureaus and positions and just fires all of the positions that were, or the majority of the positions that were appointed by the other party.
Yeah, and then pretty much every party shift in presidential office have basically laid off all of the federal judges they can and put in their own.
And the big thing about it is that every single time that there's a regime change, the press completely forgets about it and goes, "Oh, look at what's going on! Look at what's
not
going
every
on."
time, not every time.
That's true.
When Obama took office and fired basically all of the Bush appointee judges, there was nary a whisper.
True.
When Trump took office and fired most of the Obama-appointed judges, the sky was falling.
Yes.
And then again, when Biden took office and fired all of Trump's, nary a peep. But I would like to point out the date specifically, because you mentioned that January 18th. January 18th is Saturday. January 20th is Monday.
Yep.
Inauguration Day.
So, exactly. So if he's resigned as of the 18th, that leaves one more day for him to get a pardon.
That's true.
So there's a 1 day gap between his resignation and the inauguration of the new president. But if that's why he chose that date, what does he think that he did that needs a pardon?
Yeah, as I was saying, the politically speaking, if I was Steve Dettelbach, I would maintain my position as ATF director and force Trump to fire him so that he could essentially wave the bloody shirt and say, "Oh, he doesn't care about gun violence," and whatever nonsense he wants to say. Yeah.
Yep. I was interested that he did the 18th, which is a Saturday, as opposed to the 17th, which is a Friday.
My thought,
at the end of the business week.
My thought, if he is cutting it that close, he's putting a lot of trust in an administration that doesn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
True. But, I mean, considering how many thousands of pardons are we up to now from this administration?
I mean, I think we're pretty close to the record of ever done, but
I think we've surpassed the record of ever done.
Yeah.
I think we are now getting close to the multiple presidents combined record. But I remember seeing it was in the thousands, including some that made some families extremely angry.
Yeah, let's stay away from that for
that's a mag dump discussion.
Correct.
But that's what my first thought was when I saw the date 18th. That leaves the 19th open. 20th, Biden's no longer president.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he leave? If he's going to resign, why would he leave that gap? And that was the first thing that came to mind, was that he may be looking for a pardon or something.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
from the letter, it says, under your leadership and that of Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General, we met head on the challenge of a historic spike in violent crime coming out of the pandemic. And of course, I think there's been several papers written that, in fact, there was some funny business with the numbers, and it's actually one of the only times there was a massive revision in the violent crime statistics presented by the FBI after the fact. And so including drops in firearm related crime. The progress.
Oh, wait, you skipped. As I leave ATF, the country has experienced 2 years of historic decreases in the violent crime rates, including drops in firearm-related crime.
Yeah.
But from what I remember reading, those 2 years of historic decreases still had rates higher than the pre-pandemic numbers.
Yeah, I mean, which were the lowest in, I want to say, 50 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the progress did not occur by accident. Yeah, because what did you do? The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, or doing the pistol brace ban?
Or trying to do the upper and lower receivers both have to be serialized.
Yep. Or here's a good one, pushing for universal background checks. There was something that was pushed for. It didn't happen, but they tried to.
Stuff didn't happen.
The Bipartisan Safer Community Act originally contained a universal background check law verbiage, which would mean that all firearms transfers need to be done through an FFL, and the ATF under Steve Beeple-Sneatz was shutting down many FFLs under completely nonsensical reasons, such as improper abbreviations and simple spelling mistakes,
which we hadn't seen since the Clinton administration.
Mm-hmm. So
we can't miss you until you leave.
Correct. Yep. No, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, Steve. But please, President Trump, find somebody who is a really strong Second Amendment supporter. Yeah, and I'd like to be either Brandon Herrera or Collier Noir.
Yeah. They both have good qualifications. I think Brandon's are stronger because Brandon was in law school before he left to start his firearms business.
That's true.
But
so he has...
I thought Collier Noir was a practicing lawyer.
He is.
Yes. Oh. Yeah. So I was going to say that's kind of a wash, as they both have some legal background. Brandon also has industry background that Collier does not have.
And the fact that he ran for office, so he's got some political background.
Exactly. So I think he's got a broader set of skills. I think that Collier would be a great benefit to the organization, maybe not as the director, but as the legal something or other. But I think as director, they're both very charismatic speakers. They're both young, energetic, and they both have no love for the ATF. So, yeah, either of them would be fine. I just think that that Brandon just brings a little bit more to the table than Collier. Not to diminish.
Herrera, he really sold me when he said that he's got a plan that will completely gut the ATF within a short period of time, and the agency would never recover from it. And I'm just ooh, tell me more.
Yeah, his plan would be to cripple it for decades. And but again, he's also been the victim of some of the ATF paperwork shenanigans as an 07 SOT.
Mm-hmm.
So he's seen the inside of that sausage, if you don't mind the mixed metaphors. But yeah, I'd be happy with either of them.
All right. Well, David, you gotta take this next one, because this one you added.
Yes. So this was a post that I saw from the Firearms Policy Coalition. And for any of our listeners who are on Twix, if you're not following the FPC, you really should, because they are really good information and they're snarky and sarcastic. What's not to like?
Mm-hmm.
And if Letitia James had gotten the NRA disbanded, FPC might have been the one to step into that legislative space, and the gun prohibitionists would have been horrified to realize that they'd actually gotten rid of the moderates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the article headline is, a Texas federal judge ruled today that the federal ban on gun plus drug possession is unconstitutional as applied to a defendant who was not shown to be intoxicated by marijuana at the time of the incident or at the time he was arrested.
So in other words, they're treating it just like alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, that's how they came out with it. And the Twix has a link to the actual legal document. In the United States District Court for the Western Division of Texas, El Paso Division, United States of America versus Adrian Gill II. So I don't know the entire story behind this, but he was basically pressured to plead guilty. I forget what the actual charge was, but he was basically pressured to plead guilty to a drug charge, which then, of course, removed his Second Amendment rights for the rest of his life. And his lawyers argued that the statute that he pled guilty to was unconstitutional on its face as applied to him. So it's a very narrow ruling. It's not everybody. It's this guy. But again, it's another circuit split. And is that the fifth covers Texas?
I want to say so, but I'm not sure.
Oddball puts that map up every time we get one of these discussions because none of us can remember.
I'm pretty sure that's me.
Oh, you have as well? I know Oddball has at a couple of the mag dumps.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's the fifth.
Okay, yeah. So, but there's been some really good pro-gun rulings coming out of the fifth in the last few years. I mean, they've always been on our side, but they've been a little bit more ruly about it lately.
This also is picking up the vacuum left by Hunter Biden's pardon, because his lawyers had openly said that they were forbidden from making a Second Amendment challenge in his initial trial, and was told that he could make that argument on appeal. And in theory, the idea that Hunter Biden may have appealed his charge, citing the Second Amendment as a reason why it shouldn't be against the law to have been a user of marijuana and purchasing firearms.
Yep. And I found the background element. July 15th, 2021, El Paso Police Department responded to a call at the defendant's home in reference to an alleged fight. And when they entered the home, they observed a large vacuum-sealed clear plastic bag that contained marijuana. Conducting a sweep of the home, they found more marijuana. After subsequently getting a search warrant, they found multiple guns, contacted ATF. They arrested him and determined the facts as they relate to the firearms, et cetera, and at which point he admitted to being a user of marijuana, and that therefore he was in violation of 18 U.S. Code 922G3, and that was what this ruling on is charged. Yeah, and then it gets into the charges and way more legal speak than I want to deal with. But yeah, so he was a naughty boy in regards to having marijuana and firearms in the same location. He admitted to using the marijuana. He was pressured to plead guilty on that, and his lawyers made a persuasive argument to the federal judges. What I didn't see.
Hopefully this will continue on, because again, the founding history and all of that, the issue is, yes, if you are intoxicated, people have removed guns from intoxicated people, because you don't drink and don't do drugs when you're handling firearms. It's not a great combination. But by all means, you come home from the range and you've cleaned all the guns and everything's locked up and put away. By all means, mix yourself a cocktail.
And this is, I didn't see what the vote was, but I did get to the point. It is hereby ordered that motion to withdraw guilty plea and dismiss indictment is granted. further ordered that the memorandum opinion and order denying defendant's motion to withdraw guilty plea is vacated. It is further ordered that the sealed indictment under which defendant has been charged is dismissed with prejudice. Further ordered the duplicative motion to dismiss filed by him is denied as moot. And the government's motion to dismiss is denied as moot. It is finally ordered that defendant Adrian Gill II is released from any pretrial or bond conditions under which he'd previously subject. So, there we go. So, Mr. Gill is free and clear. And hopefully this will lead to the same happening to others. And it would be really smart of the incoming administration to just move marijuana off of whatever level drug law it is and just have it treated like tobacco.
It's a Schedule 1.
Well,
Schedule 1, thank you.
Yeah, and actually, I'll go a step further from that, or it's more of an intermediate step. And I'm with you, David. I think it should
is it an intermediate step or is it a step further?
No, it's an intermediate step because if in fact I'm not sure if the president could have the power to remove it under a or if the director of the DEA could remove a drug, or if it require an act of Congress. But either way, if suddenly marijuana was just stripped off of the federal statutes and just became something that was just ambiguous to federal law, it would still be illegal in many states. And the majority of people who are prosecuted for, most drugs are being prosecuted at the state level. Mm-hmm. And are being tried, convicted.
Oh yeah, that's why when they talked about vacating all of the convictions for all the federal drug convictions, it wound up being like 2 people.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And so the majority of people are being tried, convicted, and incarcerated under the state law. And so it really doesn't change anything because lots of states have either medical or recreational marijuana. I don't think Washington State had psilocybin mushrooms for a little while, but I think they may have reversed that.
No idea.
But either way, but they have them there. But there's a bunch of states that don't, and it's illegal there still. That nothing would change. It's no different from the fact that I can't buy a suppressor as a resident of Massachusetts. Their suppressors are perfectly legal. I could go out and buy one, but the state of Massachusetts forbids it. It's not illegal federally. It's illegal by the state. And the states that have legalized marijuana, like the state of Massachusetts, you can go out and you can buy them, but there's always that specter hanging over your head that you could get pinched by the DEA or the FBI. Mm-hmm. And charged federally because it is still illegal.
Yeah. And the tobacco companies, if marijuana was legalized on a Friday, by Monday they would have packages coming off the conveyor belts mm-hmm. with prepackaged marijuana cigarettes.
Totally correct.
The whole thing is there. They've got logos and everything.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah. So it would be unpleasant for me in certain aspects because of my allergic reaction, but I would still rather see more freedom even if it's personally uncomfortable.
Yep. All right. We got one last story here. Congress authorizes more gun ranges on federal land.
Yes, I found and added this one. And I did want to put that in as the last one specifically because what is one of the things that we regularly say should happen with the Second Amendment? How should it be handled by legislators?
Yes. Yep. Oh, that's true. Yeah, is that we
bipartisan?
We need to have
bipartisan.
Yeah, we should have more legislative action rather than relying exclusively on the court. You're 100% correct, David.
Yes. Well, the House version of the bill had 51 co-sponsors. 27 Democrats, 24 Republicans.
Oh.
Well, it's worth noting that despite the title, the bill isn't just gun ranges on federal land. It's a whole bunch of things, including making the shooting sports accessible to minors and disabled people. And I don't know who bundled that, but that was pretty brilliant, because then it comes down to, you don't like children. You don't want to make sports available to disabled people. And so that was both carrot and stick, and that's really, really good.
Yeah, it was whoever came up with this brilliant. But it's the Expanding Public Lands Outdoor Recreation Experience, or Explore Act. Yeah,
because government loves backronyms these days.
Oh, God. I just want to take a backhand to the backronyms. But in addition to the range provisions, the Explore Act includes a host of other outdoor recreation expansion efforts, as well as new resources for young people and the disabled to access public lands. So it's a bipartisan victory during a very divided time in our country, said Jackie Ostfeld, director of Sierra Club Outdoors. So this is a definite feel-good story. It is passed through Congress and sits on the president's desk for signature.
And it being bipartisan, again, Joe Biden has been vocally, not necessarily legislatively, but vocally the most anti-gun president in the history of the United States. Nobody has spent more time speaking out against more clearly protected rights. Again, everything that he's talking about is illegal, including things that have been ruled, back when he was vice president, as being unconstitutional. He has
there were some that were ruled unconstitutional when he was a senator.
It's true. And yet here he is, just openly demanding that Congress violate the Constitution. And thankfully they have not listened, but he is a political animal, and or what's left of him. There is discussion about
his cognitive abilities.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing that actually throws a linchpin about this, is I'm not sure if this law gets signed or vetoed. I don't know who's the one who's doing it, if it is Biden or if it is somebody else. But it being bipartisan, and actually more Democrats co-sponsored this than Republicans.
I mean, by two, but in the House, but still, yeah.
So, but either way, the
wow, passed Senate without amendment by unanimous consent.
Ooh, that's awesome. So yeah, the fact that so many Democrats have endorsed this does actually give the possibility that President Biden may sign this into law. But again, if it has that much support, he doesn't have to sign it into law.
Yeah, they can override him.
Yeah, I mean, if he vetoes it, then they override. If he signs it, great. If he doesn't sign it, it goes into law anyway. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to express our thanks for the clever structuring to Representative Bruce Westerman from Arkansas. He's the fellow who was the prime sponsor. And his Arkansas District 4 wraps around but does not include Little Rock.
Oh, gerrymandering. Arkansas is a crooked state.
I mean, that doesn't narrow it down a whole lot.
No. But yeah.
39 other states and a district that would repeat that as well.
But, I mean, this is great. I mean, it goes along the lines of, I think we all were watching the Olympics and going, yeah, but why not more shooting? And why not the kind of shooting we like? Why not 3-gun or 2-gun?
Oh. Can you imagine an Olympic 2-gun event?
Yeah. Or even an IPSC.
Yeah.
Have some
IDPA, anything like that.
The Mikuleks would bring home all the gold.
Correct.
There are some. I think that Finland would take some medals as well.
Oh yeah,
if we had those kind of events.
I mean, they're essentially the inventors of the biathlon.
Pretty much.
But but what I'm saying is that, you know what, when the public lands are considered areas for recreation, and we all like our hunting and fishing and hiking and and camping and that sort of stuff. But also, why not shooting? Why not get a little shooting in?
Absolutely.
So yeah, and it being public lands, which I mean that's a huge problem in Massachusetts. There's some discussion on like, the training requirements and club membership requirements, and yet in Massachusetts, the gun ranges are all private. Like there's very few public places that you can go that you can go shooting at. Most of them are members only clubs.
Do they have jackets?
Are the jackets?
Jinx.
I thought I was actually hearing an echo of my own voice. Oh,
I think that you could buy a jacket, but no, I do not have a members only jacket. On that stinker, I think it's time to thank our listeners. I'm not gonna do an awful segue, Erin. But thanks to each and every one of our listeners, and we gotta say a very special thanks to our supporters on Patreon. To our Patreon patron, go to patreon.com/Assorted Calibers podcast to sign up. It's not a tip jar. It's not a begging place. It's a store. Come get a hold of some extra shows. You get early release of the podcast. You can get bonus release. You can get bonus content like the hilarious blooper reels, the ACB film tracks, and the ACB mag dump. If you are curious about the ACB film tracks for Christmas, I put up Violent Night, which is a spectacular Christmas action movie. I put that up for free, so you could just download that, no purchase necessary, and there's instructions on how to sync up that lovely movie with the film track, and you can watch it with I believe it was David and Oddball and myself on that one.
Yep. Yeah, it's Lethal Weapon meets Miracle on 34th Street
with some Die Hard.
Yeah, I was thinking specifically of Danny Glover being too old for that stuff.
Yeah, no, totally.
Anyway,
I expected David to make the comment that Die Hard was a Hanukkah movie.
I mean, it is. It meets all the requirements.
Also, please remember to rate us on Apple Podcasts and Pocket Casts. Subscribe to us on the platform of your choice, and share the show with your friends, both online and off.
I got a blog. It's weirdworld.com. That's WEERDworld.com. And hear me weekly on Handgun Radio on the Firearms Radio Network.
And you can get more from me at linktree/Erin Paulette. That's linktree.ee/Erin Paulette, all one word.
And David, where can people find you?
Well, here on Handgun Radio, when you guys let me know in enough time to join.
You did this week.
Yeah, I just happened to luck into it because it was not at all the date or time that's normally done. But I also hang out on the Assorted Calibers podcast Facebook and MeWe pages. Contributor at Blue Collar Prepping at bluecollarprepping.blogspot.com. And I'm a published author, and books with my stories can be found on Amazon under the names David Bock and Brena Bock.
And thanks to Nate Spencer for our music.
Oh gosh, I want to do something about 80s fashion. It's not fully coming together. It's going to be awkward, but if you've made it this far, you like the awkwardness. So let's see. I'm gonna say that David is the tight roll cuff on jeans, and Weird is. I would imagine he's a Michael Jackson fanboy, so he would be the one sequin glove, and of course I would
or
be
MC Hammer parachute pants.
That's more of a 90s thing, really.
He's definitely more of a 90s.
But of course, I'm going to be a pair of Doc Marten boots.
Oh,
classy.
Thank you. Our 80s retro fashion is assorted, and so is our podcast. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.